My first book, Sapiens, surveyed the human past, examining how an insignificant ape became the ruler of planet Earth. Homo Deus, my second book, explored the long-term future of life, contemplating how humans might eventually become gods and what the ultimate destiny of intelligence and consciousness might be. In this book, I want to zoom in on the here and now, but without losing the long-term perspective. How can insights about the distant past and distant future help us make sense of current affairs and of the immediate dilemmas of human societies? What is happening right now? What are today's greatest challenges and most important choices? Of course, 7 billion people have 7 billion agendas, and as already noted, thinking about the big picture is a relatively rare luxury. A single mother struggling to raise 2 children in Mumbai slum is focused on where she will find the next meal. Refugees in a boat in the middle of the Mediterranean scan the horizon for any sign of land. A dying man in an overcrowded London hospital gathers all his remaining strength to take in one more breath. They all have far more urgent problems than global warming or the crisis of liberal democracy. No book can do justice to all of that, and I don't have lessons to teach people in such situations. I can only hope to learn from them. My agenda here is global. I look at the major forces that shape societies all over the world and that are likely to influence the future of our planet as a whole. Climate change may be far beyond the concerns of people in the midst of a life and death emergency, but it might eventually make the Mumbai slums uninhabitable, send enormous new waves of refugees across the Mediterranean, and lead to a worldwide crisis in healthcare. Reality is composed of many threads, and this book tries to cover different aspects of our global predicament without claiming to be exhaustive. Unlike Sapiens and Homo Deus, this book is intended not as a historical narrative, but rather as a selection of lessons. These lessons do not conclude with simple answers. They aim to stimulate further thinking and help readers participate in some of the major conversations of our time. The book was written in conversation with the public. Many of the chapters were composed in response to questions I was asked by readers, journalists, and colleges. Earlier versions of some sections have already been published in different form, which gave me the opportunity to receive feedback and hone my arguments. Some sections focus on technology, some on politics, some on religion, and some on art. There are the chapters that celebrate human wisdom, and others that highlight the crucial role of human stupidity. But the overarching question remains the same. What is happening in the world today, and what is the deep meaning of these events? What does the rise of Donald Trump signify? What can we do about the epidemic of fake news? Why is liberal democracy in crisis? Is God back? Is a new world war coming? Which civilization dominates the world? The West, China, Islam? Should Europe keep its doors open to immigrants? Can nationalism solve the problems of inequality and climate change? What should we do about terrorism? Though this book takes a global perspective, I do not neglect the personal level. On the contrary, I want to emphasize the connections between the great revolutions of our era and the internal lives of individuals. For example, terrorism is both a global political problem and an internal psychological mechanism. Terrorism works by pressing the fear button deep in our minds and hijacking the private imaginations of millions of individuals. Similarly, the crisis of liberal democracy is played out not just in parliaments and polling stations, but also in neurons and synapses. It is a cliche to know the personal is the political, but in an era when scientists, corporations, and governments are learning to hack the human brain, this truism is more sinister than ever. Accordingly, this book offers observations about the conduct of individuals as well as an entire society. A global world puts unprecedented pressure on our personal conduct and morality. Each of us is enamored with the numerous all-encompassing spiderwebs, which on the one hand restrict our movements, but on the other transmit our tiniest jingle to a faraway destination. Our daily routines influence the lives of people and animals halfway across the world, and some personal gestures can unexpectedly set the entire world ablaze, as happened with the self-immolation of Mohamed Bouazizi in Tunisia, which ignited the Arab Spring, and with the movement of women who shared their stories of sexual harassment and sparked the Me Too movement. The global dimension of our personal lives means that it is more important than ever to uncover our religious and political biases, our racial and gender privileges, and our unwitting complexity and institutional oppression. But is that a realistic enterprise? How can I find a firm ethical ground in a world that extends far beyond my horizons, that spins completely out of human control, and that holds all gods and ideologies suspect? This book begins by surveying our certain political and technological predicament. At the close of the 20th century, it appeared that the great ideological battles between the fascism, communism, and liberalism has resulted in the overwhelming history of liberalism, democratic politics, human rights, and free market capitalism seemed destined to conquer the entire world. But as usual, history took an unexpected turn, and after fascism and communism collapsed, now liberalism is in trouble. So where are we heading? This question is particularly poignant because liberalism is losing credibility exactly when the twin revolutions in information technology and biotechnology confront us with the biggest challenges our species has ever encountered. The merger of infotech and biotech might soon push billions of humans out of the job market and undermine both liberty and equality. Big data algorithms might create digital dictatorships in which all power is concentrated in the hands of a tiny elite, while most people suffer not from exploitation but from something far worse, irrelevance. I discussed the merger of infotech and biotech at length in my previous book, Homo Deus, but whereas that book focused on the long-term prospects, taking the perspective of centuries and even millennia, this book concentrates on more immediate social, economic, and political crises. My internet here is less than in the eventual creation of inorganic life and more in a threat to the welfare state and to particular institutions such as European Union. This book does not attempt to cover all the impacts of the new technologies. In particular, though technology holds many wonderful promises, my intention here is to highlight mainly its threats and dangers, since the corporations and entrepreneurs who lead the technological revolution naturally tend to sing the praises of the creations. It falls to sociologists, philosophers, and historians such as myself to sound the alarm and explain all the ways things can go terribly wrong. After sketching out the challenges we face, in the second part of the book, we examine a wide range of potential responses. Could Facebook engineers use AI to create a global community that would safeguard human liberty and equality? Perhaps the answer is to reverse the process of globalization and re-empower the nature state. Maybe we need to go back even further and draw hope and wisdom from the wellsprings of ancient religious traditions. In the third part of the book, we see that through the technological challenges are unprecedented and the political disagreements intense, humankind can rise to the occasion if we keep our fears under control and be a bit more humble about our views. This part investigates what can be done about the menace of terrorism, about the danger of global war, and about the biases and hatreds that spark such conflicts. The fourth part engages with the notion of post-truth and asks to what extent we can still understand global developments and distinguish wrongdoing from justice. Is Homo sapiens capable of making sense of the world it has created? Is there still a clear border separating reality from fiction? In the fifth and final part, I gather together the different threads and take a more general look at life in an age of bewilderment, when the old stories have collapsed and no new story has emerged so far to replace them. Who are we? What should we do in life? What kinds of skills do we need? Given everything we know and don't know about science, about God, about politics, and about religion, what can we say about the meaning of life today? This may sound overambitious, but Homo sapiens cannot wait. Philosophy, religion, and science are all running out of time. People have debated the meaning of life for thousands of years. We cannot continue this debate indefinitely. The looming ecological crisis, the growing threat of weapons of mass destruction, and the rise of new disruptive technologies will not allow it. Perhaps more important, artificial intelligence and biotechnology are giving humanity the power to reshape and re-engineer life. Very soon somebody will have to decide how to use this power based on some implicit or explicit story about the meaning of life. Philosophers are very patient person, but engineers are far less so, and investors are the least patient of all. If you don't know what to do with the power to engineer life, market forces will not wait 1,000 years for you to come up with an answer. The invisible hand of the market will force upon you its own blind reply, unless you are happy to entrust the future of life to the mercy of quarterly revenue reports. You need a clear idea what life is all about. In the final chapter, I indulge in a few personal remarks, talking as our Homo sapiens to another, just before the curtain goes down on our species and a completely different drama begins. Before embarking on this intellectual journey, I would like to highlight one crucial point. In much of the book, I discuss the shortcomings of liberal worldview and the democratic system. I do so not because I believe liberal democracy is uniquely problematic, but rather because I think it is the most successful and most versatile political model humans have so far developed for dealing with the challenges of the modern world. While it might not be appropriate for every society in every stage of development, it has proven its worth in more societies and in more situations than any of its alternatives. So when we're examining the new challenges that lie ahead of us, it is necessary to understand the limitations of liberal democracy and to explore how we can adapt and improve its current institutions. Unfortunately, in the present political climate and in critical thinking about liberalism and democracy might be hijacked by autocrats and various illiberal movements whose sole interest is to discredit liberal democracy rather than to engage in an opening discussion about the future of humanity. While they are more than happy to debate the problems of liberal democracy, they have almost no tolerance of any criticism directed at them. As an author, I was therefore required to make a difficult choice. Should I speak my mind openly and risk that my words might be taken out of context and used to justify burgeoning autocracies, or should I censor myself? Is it a mark of illiberal regions that they make free speech more difficult even outside the borders? Due to the spread of such regions, it is becoming increasingly dangerous to think critically about the future of our species. After some soul-searching, I chose free discussion over self-censorship. Without criticizing the liberal model, we cannot repair its faults or move beyond it. But please note that this book could have been written only when people are still relatively free to think what they like and to express themselves as they wish. If you value this book, you should also value the freedom of expression. So that's the introduction. In the next video, I'm gonna dive deeper into the first chapter, which is technological advancements. So really excited for that.